This is Vahid Badi'i. We're broadcasting from Radio Puya, and you're listening and watching Radio Puya Network. Today, I have a great guest on a great cause. Larry Everest is with us. As you all may know, there is a huge event kicking off this Sunday in support of Iranian political prisoners, and requesting for get them all free. In that aspect, we invite Larry Everest. He's one of the organizer, and without further notice, I ask Larry to introduce himself and tell us what is the program and what are they doing. Larry?
Hey, Vahid, really great to be on Radio Puya, and I'm so glad that you'll be live streaming the audio and later on playing a video. That's wonderful, and it's very important support for the cause. I myself will be speaking at the program representing the International Emergency Campaign to Free Iran's Political Prisoners. We're a very diverse campaign made up of anyone who's determined to free Iran's political prisoners, and basically agrees with our emergency appeal, which sets out our principles, and I'll tell you about in a moment. I'm also an author. I wrote the book Oil, Power, and Empire, Iraq and the U.S. Global Agenda. I reported from Iran in the summer of 1979 after the revolution, and again in May of 1980, and I've covered it for many years since, mostly for the website revolution/revcom.us, as well as other publications. The program, as you said, is going to be from 1 o'clock p.m. till 2:30 Pacific time. It's sponsored by the International Emergency Campaign, as well, very importantly, as the Social Forum of the First Unitarian Universalist Society of San Francisco, a very important progressive, longtime center of progressive politics and activism. So we're very excited about doing this program, and we're going to really delve into the situation facing political prisoners in Iran, this emergency that we face. I mean, I'm sure your audience is familiar. The writer Bakhtash Abtin is in prison near death. You see pictures of him on a ventilator. Haider Gobani, a Kurdish activist, just executed. Nargis Mohammadi taken back to prison. I don't even know if we know where she is now. And every day you see different outrages by the Islamic Republic against the prisoners. So we're going to be digging into that, and we're going to be talking about how we can organize to fight to really win their freedom, and how important this is, not just as a cause for justice, but as a cause for the entire future of Iran and Iran's people, and really that has a big bearing on the world. And one of the things, and I'll talk more about the International Emergency Appeal, but one of the things that marks our campaign is we make very clear that we're proceeding from the interests of humanity, not any of the governments, not the Iran government, not America's government. So we demand free all political prisoners. We demand of the US government no war, no threats, no sanctions. In other words, no aggression or intervention. We don't stand for any of that. And I'm really excited because I'm going to be joined on the program by Mclaren, and I think you'll be talking to her this week. She's a dynamo. Her mother, Nahid Tagavi, was arrested in October 2020, and she's she's just done so much in the Free Naheed campaign, as well as the fight for all political prisoners. Just a tremendous speaker and activist. She and Elika Ashuri, whose father, Anousheh Ashuri, is also a political prisoner in Iran, just posted an op-ed in Kayhan Life about how they went from quote normal people to being activists because their parents were arrested. Laden Bazargan was a former political prisoner herself. She's fought for years for the cause of the prisoners, especially her relatives I believe her brothers were murdered in the 1988 massacre, which the new president, as again, I'm sure your listeners are aware, Ibrahim Raisi was one of the architects of this mass slaughter of 5,000 or more, perhaps, political prisoners. And the other speaker is Dr. Azam Niromand Rad, and she's a longtime human rights activist on all matters human rights in Iran, and she's also an eminent scientist, a professor of medical physics at Georgetown and the University of Wisconsin at Madison. So it's going to be a very exciting, important program to kick off 2022. It will be live streamed on Zoom and on YouTube. And I'll be telling people exactly how they can sign up for that and get connected to that. And of course, there'll be time for discussion and questions. There will be solidarity statements from other activists and former prisoners and so on and so forth. There'll be music. And actually, we just got word that and I'm that a very prominent and I didn't write down her name, Iranian singer is has offered to let us play her music, and I apologize.
Her name is Marjan Farsad.
Yes, exactly right. Thank you. You saved me, I hope.
Sure.
Yes, that's very exciting. We were thrilled. So that's the basics. And of course, I can say more about the campaign, but let me start with this.
That's great. I'm very impressed with your knowledge about prisoners in Iran. It's very sad we have that many prisoners, and there is a sad our country is facing that kind of the tragic events. You know, families really getting ruined by this kind of act, and the prisoners, political prisoners, is a big deal in Iran. We are, as a Iranian American and also Iranian around the world, it's one of our biggest worthiness is political prisoners. And I'm really happy you guys get involved and starting campaign, international campaign, so the world can hear our voice and being able to do something for these people, these great people, their hands is tied and they're in prison. If you tell me a little bit more about the core of this program, I'd really appreciate it.
Oh, sure. Well, look, just Vahid, taking off from what you're saying, you know, the title of our program is Heroism for Our Times, because one of the things we stress a number of things in the International Emergency Campaign. And one is that it's a genuine emergency. We know that the Islamic Republic has been brutal from the beginning. When I was in Iran in 1979, I was at the protest against the closure of Ayendagan. And it's the only demonstration. I've been an activist for many, many decades, and well, not too many decades, but a long time. And I never have I been in a protest where people were killed, but they were that day. So I saw this viciousness of the Hezbollah and the Islamic Republic from the start against progressive people, revolutionaries, leftists, thinking people, and some women, and so on. But we're stressing that this isn't just more of the same, that in response to very heroic uprisings of the Iranian people, which were not part of some US plot for regime change. They were just, obviously, Iran's a big country. There are many diverse opinions, and I certainly couldn't, wouldn't, and shouldn't, try to characterize how Iranian people think, because they think in many different ways. But these protests have been about water and food and jobs and a better life and freedom and basic things for humanity. They've been just uprising in 2017, 2019, going on now in this summer in Khuzestan and more recently in Isfahan. So in response, there's been a vicious wave of arrests and brutal arrest and incarceration. And we say the lives of these political prisoners hangs in the balance. We also make the point that these arrests are illegitimate. They're sham confessions. They're arbitrary arrests. There's torture being used. It's like the Alice in Wonderland, verdict first, evidence later, in trying to extract confessions. And it's also unjust because a whole range of people are being arrested, all the way from revolutionary socialists and communists to poets and environmental activists, women's rights, filmmakers, people of the Baha'i, if you're a religious minority, the Kurdish and Baluch people are being targeted, a whole wide range of people. And there are a lot of campaigns that are very important by the family members. That's been very important. Free Nahid, free Nasreen, the famous human rights lawyer, free Anousheh, and so on and so forth. Those are all very important, but it's crucial to free all the political prisoners, all of them, and to fight for their freedom now. And it's crucial, as I mentioned, that we do so from the framework of not siding with either the reactionaries in Iran or the reactionaries in Washington, D.C., because any hope that the U.S. could come in and do something positive, just look at Iraq, look at Afghanistan. They went into both those countries claiming to liberate the people, and it just turned into a total nightmare. I wanted to say my understanding of this point of how these are both reactionary forces and the dynamic between them has been deepened by the work of the revolutionary Bob Avakian. He makes the point that the U.S. is not a force for good in the world. It's a predatory imperialist power, nor is the Islamic Republic anti-imperialist fighters as they pose. They too are reactionaries, but they actually reinforce each other even as they're having clashes. And if you support either one, you end up strengthening both. And I just think that's a very important point, because people generally think they have to pick one side or another, but instead, we need to bring forward another way that is not imperialism, that is not Islamic fundamentalism. And of course, imperialism's the greater danger in the world overall. But we need to bring forward another way that's neither one of these repressive, oppressive forces. And that too is why the struggle in Iran is so important, because people are fighting for a different and better world. I've been in Iraq as well and reported from there and watched little children's dying of starvation because of US sanctions. So this has been a very, very important part. And this has been concentrated. And we here in the US feel a special responsibility to fight this campaign because of all the damage the United States has done to Iran over the decades. Whether one supports the Islamic Republic or not, obviously there's the 1953 coup, there's the overthrow of Mossadegh, there's all the decades of the Shah, which I learned a lot about from people when I was there. Then there's the ensuing decades, the promotion of the Iran-Iraq war, the sanctions, the threats, Israel shooting and murdering people, carrying out war crimes, all of it. And it's very important that we rouse people in this country and around the world to stand against this, both aggression, but also the mistreatment of the Iranian people, because the prisoners are the future of Iran. They're trying to lock up and imprison Iran's future. These are some of the best and brightest leaders and creators and most compassionate people. Mclaren always says they should get awards, not bars, because these are people who are in prison because they care about someone else. They care about others. And the prisoners, Narges Mohammadi is amazing. She's been in prison for 5 or 5.5 years. She protests in prison, knowing it could get her back into prison, and she does this. And she protests when she's outside prison. This is the kind of courage needed all around the world, including right here in the United States right now. And all of this is summed up in this emergency appeal, which we feel is a very important guide to the struggle. And over 3,000 people signed it. We published it as a full-page ad in the New York Review of Books. Here, I'm going to hold it up. People can see this beautiful, beautiful statement. And some of the people that have signed: Noam Chomsky, Daniel Ellsberg, Gloria Steinem, Nobel laureate Jody Williams, Ariel Dorfman, the very noted playwright and author whose plays have been produced in Tehran. Death of a Maiden, produced in Tehran. He feels a great kinship with the Iranian people, and he's been very active in this campaign. Judith Butler, the University of California, very noted professor, as well as Iranians, Taghi Rahmani, Nargis's husband, Mansour Bakesh of the Mothers of Havran, and many, many others. And we want many, many others to sign this as well and circulate it, because one thing we want to stress, it is possible to free these prisoners. It does a tremendous amount of good to fight for them, because number one, they hear about this. We've heard, different officials are complaining to some of these prisoners about all the publicity they're getting around the world. And we've heard from different prisoners that they've watched some of the programs that we put on, and those of many other groups that are fighting for the prisoners. It's not just ours. And we know from for example, here in this country, the George Floyd protests, the Black Lives Matter uprising, that those things can shift the whole political terrain and ground if millions cry out. This is, of course, why the officers, police who murdered George Floyd and also Dante Wright. Why were they convicted? Because there was a global outcry. I don't argue this changes everything. Obviously it doesn't, but it is possible if enough people raise their voice and we create the kind of global outcry we need, that they can be free. And the point of our January 9th program is to kick off the year, to take this campaign and the whole fight for political prisoners to a whole other level.
Thank you very much, Larry. We already post the flyer in our website, and I'm going to do that along with this interview. Would you please tell the way people can sign this petition and also join this meeting? For the just people knowing, I recommend you to go to the Zoom meeting or YouTube meeting. Also, for people they don't have access to the internet, or they are in a car or something, we're going to broadcast this event live in Radio Puya. So Larry, go ahead and just tell us what people can do.
First, that's great. You're going to broadcast it. I won't be in a car, but I'm sure many people will be. That's terrific. The other, and often it's fun. Anyway, the radio's great. I love radio. The best thing people can do really is go to the campaign's website, Free Iran's Political Prisoners Now.org. It's a long name, but it makes sense, and in a way it's easy to remember. Free Iran's Political Prisoners Now.org. Go to that website, and you're going to there's a tremendous amount of information. Some of it is in Farsi. Our appeal is in Farsi, and some of our other materials are in Farsi. But as soon as you get to the website, right in the middle, you're going to see two orange links. One is to learn about and sign up for the event. And you click on that, and it's either going to take you to Eventbrite, or it's going to take you to a page with a link to Eventbrite. And I would really encourage listeners to do that, to sign up on Eventbrite, because then you're going to be in contact with the campaign. You're going to get updates from the campaign about the program on Sunday. You're going to get the Zoom link to the program. You know, on these kinds of programs, that they create the link when you start. So we'll get the link to everyone that way. So again, you go to the website, Free Iran's Political Prisoners Now.org, and then you'll see those orange buttons. The other orange button is for YouTube. You can go to the website on Sunday at 1 o'clock and click on that and watch it on YouTube. Or you can go now and click on it and set a reminder for yourself when YouTube will send you a message that the program has started. And once you're on the website, you can also see the emergency appeal. You just scroll down the home page. You can read it, you can sign it, you can see who the 3,000 plus other people are. And we have all sorts of updates. We have a Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Prison Emerge, Iran Prison Emerge, EMERG. But we have icons you can click on and get to all that on our website. You can see this full New York Review of Books ad. And once again, Free Iran's Political Prisoners Now.org.
Thank you very much, Larry. It was a pleasure to meeting you via Zoom. I hope the event being successful. I'm sure it will be, and I hope this cause and this effort, get the results, and we see all the prisoners being free one day. Thank you very much, Larry. If you have anything to add to this interview, microphone is yours.
Oh, well, listen, just to say thank you. I'm so glad we're in touch with you and Radio Puya, and we'll continue to fight this fight together and to enlist many more people in it. And this is an important beginning on January 9th, so I want to encourage people to take part, and we welcome a very, very wide range of people. And of course, we need to have dialogue and discussion about how to go forward and so on and so forth, and how to fight for a whole different and much better world. So, I welcome all your listeners to the program with the Unitarian Universalists on January 9th.
Thank you very much.